instead of treating AI as kind of like the product itself, we need to treat it for what it is. It's a technology that helps companies achieve their vision faster and serve their customers better.
Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert's Perspective. Today's a really, really special and important episode. First and foremost, it's our 100th episode, and I'm joined by the wonderful Filip and Rob. Welcome, boys.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having us.
I hear it a lot from these two. For those that don't know, Rob and Phil are my partners. We all work together. They're the co-founders of Noibu. We all started this thing back together, which seems like a long time ago. And the podcast now is at about 100 episodes. They like to make fun of me off camera that I'm kind of like a washed up TikTok star that does these things, you know? So that's how it goes. But wanted to just do a brief introduction. If you guys just want to do brief introductions of yourselves, and then we'll dive into what it means for us to be at 100 episodes. And then we're going to dive into some of the big and exciting things that are going on with Noibu. So maybe Rob or Phil, if you, Rob, why don't you kick us off? And then Phil, you can go ahead.
Cool. Thanks, Kailin. I'm Rob, one of the co-founders here at Noibu. Have known these guys for years and years, coming on decades now, which is crazy. It's been great working with the guys. We've gone through what I'll call a lot of ups and downs, a lot of pivots. And now that we're at our 100th episode, it's pretty exciting. And what's more exciting is obviously the great product work that we've done, and all the great customers that we've been able to talk to. And also, even if they weren't Noibu customers, I listen to mostly every single episode. As much as we chirp Kailin, we do enjoy listening to the podcast. I learn a ton just from all of the insight. And as folks that entered the e-commerce industry through technology, listening to podcasts like this one is a big part of how we actually educate ourselves to actually build a product. So super excited to be here. Big fan of the pod, and the fact that I'm on it, I feel honored. So thanks for having me, Kailin.
I'm Phil, one of the co-founders as well as Noibu. I work primarily with our engineering and product departments. So I speak to our customers, and we make sure that we're understanding their problem sets, and most importantly, that then we deliver on those problem sets with the features and products that we build. And I'm sure, given that it's our 100th episode, we're going to be talking about the repositioning, the new product vision, and all that stuff. So I'm really excited to get to jump right in.
And just to kick us off, our wonderful head of marketing, Anthony, approached us about 2 years ago with the idea of launching a podcast. We were very skeptical at the beginning, including myself. And when we asked ourselves, like, why, what we kind of came to the conclusion of is at the time, we were actually a much bigger company than people had realized. We hadn't really invested in marketing. So we were doing a lot of great work through our product and through our customer organization. And we felt that we didn't have the brand recognition that we deserved at the time. And effectively 2 years ago, we launched the podcast. We started off by going every 2 weeks and then scaled it up to weekly. We started the podcast about 2 years ago. Our wonderful head of marketing, Anthony, had approached us with this idea. We were quite skeptical at the beginning. We weren't sure what exactly the value it was going to bring to our business and our customers. But through that process, we discovered that our size of company and our revenue was actually much bigger than was realized in the market. We hadn't really invested into marketing at all prior to that. So our goals with the podcast was to just grow our brand, grow our reach, but more importantly, and Rob alluded to this earlier, was to really meet with the experts, understand what's top of mind to them, and really broker some of those relationships into Phil and to Rob to really extract what does the next generation of our product look like and how could we best serve our customers. And looking back now, 100 episodes deep, which was been at least 2 years, our product and our market has gone through a massive shift. And those are some of the things that we're going to talk to today. But really being able to build a center where not only we could learn, but the market can learn, we feel like is pushing e-com technology ahead. So on that note, I think it's been a great success. We're really happy with its results. And for those that are thinking about launching a podcast, I highly, highly recommend it. I'm going to pass it off to Rob to talk a bit about what our mission is today. And I think it's really important. There's a really famous saying that you can't understand where you're going unless you understand where you've been. And maybe talk us through where we've evolved from launch to today. And as everyone who's listening hopefully knows, we've just gone kind of a major change in our product strategy, which we're rolling out due to the fantastic work of the team and mainly spearheaded by Phil. But maybe Rob, why don't you kick us off by learning a bit about or educating us a bit about the launch to today and taking us through a bit of a history lesson.
For sure. Sounds good. So I think it's only fair to start at the genesis of Noibu, which brings us back, I think, over a decade or nearly a decade now to 2017, where candidly, Phil, Kailin, and I, we didn't really know what we were doing. All we knew was we wanted to build a technology company in the retail and e-commerce space. And we did the opposite of what we'd recommend any fledgling startup or entrepreneur. We basically took a cool technology, which was VR, and we basically tried to smash it into the retail vertical. And what that actually looked like from a product standpoint is we tried to create 3D and VR shopping for brick and mortar stores that they could put onto their e-commerce website. So picture something like a Google Maps where you can go on Street View, walk through the city. Imagine doing that actually in a store with a VR goggle headset or just basically on your computer clicking around. And the whole hypothesis was if you have a brick and mortar store, you've invested a ton in it, may as well put it online to differentiate yourself against your competitors, because usually e-commerce websites look somewhat similar. It's a grid layout with categories, PDPs, etc. And we thought that by putting a store onto your e-commerce storefront, that it could potentially build trust and increase conversions. Fast forward about 2 years, we built the product. We signed 10 customers with the promise that we would deliver the product. We actually ended up deploying this technology on those 10-ish brands. And lo and behold, conversion actually decreased. So our hypothesis was quite invalid there, where, having customers shop online through a physical store, breaking news doesn't increase conversion. So that's kind of Noibu 1.0, we'll call it. And the best thing that happened there was we made those connections. We got to talk to 10 incredible merchants. Some of them were on Shopify, some of them were on Magento. I think one or two of them was on BigCommerce as well. And we got to build relationships. And I think just through kind of that founder hustle and potentially them feeling a little bad for us, they did give us the time of day. And we were able to sit them down in, it was, I think, March of 2019, after we decided to pivot the company to a new product line. And we sat down with them and said, look, what we're building clearly isn't working for you, but you can see that we care. We want to drive value to you guys. And we really enjoy, candidly, just collaborating and working with you all. We'd love to continue that. And we know that we can't with our current product line. So do you mind if we ask you guys some discovery questions to understand how we could potentially drive tremendous value to you? And that's exactly what we did. And it was through that process that we actually discovered that errors impacting the checkout flow are quite a big pain point in e-commerce and continue to be today. And that's where Noibu 2.0 formed, where we became the leading e-commerce front-end monitoring solution in the market, where we would detect all technical issues, assign a dollar value to it, help teams prioritize those issues, and really drive conversion in a non-traditional way, where you're working from a backlog of not features, but bugs that impact the bottom line. And that really popped off in e-commerce, especially during COVID. That messaging really resonated. We're able to grow really quickly and acquire thousands of domains that we were able to deploy on. And that really has carried us up until, I would say, the second half of last year, where it's a great product. It's still part of our core offering, but we had our customers wanting more and more and more. They knew that we did a tremendous job with errors, and they were like, "Look, you collect, awesome information about our e-commerce experiences. We'd love help understanding not only what are the top issues impacting our conversion, but also what's slowing down our website. Are there opportunities to improve page speed? Not only that, do you guys have any ideas on how we can improve conversion and grow conversion through analyzing things like customer journeys, heat maps, scroll maps, other telemetry that is super helpful for increasing conversions?" And it's a long-winded way of saying we really evolved to now what I would call Noibu 3.0, where we aren't just identifying technical issues and surfacing the top ones that can drive conversion, but we're capturing every single conversion opportunity in one platform to help our amazing merchants drive conversion. And that's really where we're at today. I'll actually probably save a little bit of the details about that 3.0 version of Noibu for Phil to cover. But that's essentially kind of how we got here today. And I'm super excited that we're now the leading e-commerce monitoring and experience analytics platform. And it's a really exciting time at Noibu.
Yeah, and just as a follow-up on that, and these are discussions obviously we've all had. I think Rob, you specifically have done a good job setting up the customer advisory board meetings. Phil, you've been leading our research through your teams and yourself, chatting with customers, always staying on the pulse. One of our investors and friend of the show, John Maris, he gave me a book a long time ago called "What Got You Here Won't Get You There," and I feel like through the different researches that your team put together, Phil, and through the cab with you, and then the podcast, we somehow started to triangulate towards the back half of last year that what got us here aren't going to get us there. And Phil, I'll pass it to you to really understand, is there market dynamics that changed? Is it just maturity of the market, or did something inherently change in Noibu for us to come to this conclusion?
I think it's a combination of both of those things. The market is definitely evolving. The e-commerce market is totally maturing, and Noibu also needed to change. And the market is evolving because the platforms are evolving. Shopify, BigCommerce, Salesforce, Magento, they're all evolving. And so with them evolving, obviously they provide better services to their customers. The tools that our customers have access to are also evolving. You have better tools to monitor your e-commerce flow. You have better tools to monitor your errors. You have tools to such a variety of tools that you can put in your tool set to do your job. And with that, obviously the end merchants, our customers, they end up benefiting from that. And their needs change as their tooling changes, as the platform change. And then obviously that pushes us to change. What is still, with all of these things changing, what is still constant? And by talking to all of our customers consistently, even with all of this market changing, with the platform changing, the tools changing, they were still struggling to understand pretty much a fundamental thing in e-commerce: how to drive more revenue. Whether it is through conversion rate optimization, whether it is through fixing the most important errors, whether it is to increasing AOV, they had all these tools and the platforms are evolving, and they still couldn't have a crystal clear answer as to how to actually improve those most important metrics. And so we kind of took that learning, we took the fact that everything is changing, and we've embedded that into the team, into the company, to kind of spit out that V3. It's not just about errors. The platforms are changing, they're evolving, things are changing. How can we solve the first principle pain that still exists with all of these things changing? And that was kind of the genesis of that V3 idea. We need to stay relevant as your environment keeps changing as well.
You're right. And it's so refreshing when we hear some of our customers validate this. We obviously have a very famous customer in Majuri, and another friend of the show, Rohit, their CDO over there, was mentioning to us the other day that a few things have changed in the last few years as to why what Phil's saying is now completely bang on with where the market's going. We're seeing more and more people move towards a platformized e-com. So a homegrown, self-built solution is a thing of the past. More and more marketing and IT are getting smashed in under one org, under a chief digital officer or some equivalent title. And what you're flagging, Phil, I think is completely accurate, where if the platforms are changing and the team structures are changing, the tooling is going to change, right? The days of the engineering team working out of the Datadogs and the New Relics, and the days of the marketing team working under Full Story or Hotjar are disappearing. Like, these teams are having to collaborate more. Their goal at the end of the day is to drive conversion. Doesn't matter if it's coming from a bug, a user flow, or performance. And I think that's very, very refreshing as a product vision. Is something that's resonating. And Rob, I'm curious, if you had to describe in a single sentence what Noibu stands for a year ago and now, what do you think those are, and how has that really evolved?
Back last year, I would say we were the leading solution at detecting all of your technical issues, prioritizing them with a dollar value, and providing all of the technical information to close the loop and recover that revenue. Really a point solution for front-end errors on an e-commerce website. And I would say that we've evolved into a platform that captures all of your data needed to inform, to basically capture and provide you with all of the information needed to drive up your conversion rate in a single tool, single pane of glass, without having to switch tools, whether it's a technical issue, a performance issue, a UX issue, all within one platform. You'll be able to align all of your teams cross-functionally to drive up your conversion rate. That's a little bit more than a sentence, but I do think it was worth kind of going into a little bit of detail there.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And Phil, a follow-up question for you. It's a hot summer here in Ottawa. I was swimming in a pool of a friend a couple of weeks ago, and their 65-year-old
Nice.
dad looks at me and goes, "That AI thing, is that going to ruin your business?" I'm like, that's a very profound question. And on these customer calls, we've now gone from a transition from a point solution to a platform, like Rob just went through and like you just flagged. Does all this change on the back of AI? How are we thinking about this? And yeah, curious what your thoughts are on the back of that.
Yeah, very profound question from that gentleman at the pool. A smart man. But it's honestly a good question. And I'll give a potentially controversial take on this whole AI space. There's a lot of excitement about AI, and excitement can be dangerous because we're just excited. We don't think about the risks, the benefits. We're not properly evaluating what's happening. And I think the best stance to take at this point for any company is that this AI, or the current state of LLMs, is a technology, is a tool. A technology and a tool that companies can use to get to their vision faster and ultimately serve their customers better. And so how we're thinking about AI is, how can we use that technology to make sure that customers understand why exactly conversion rate dropped 5 days ago. They can understand the relationship between performance, errors, user behavior in a better way. They can communicate with the tooling that they already love in a natural language. And so instead of treating AI as kind of like the product itself, we need to treat it for what it is. It's a technology that helps companies achieve their vision faster and serve their customers better. And what kind of like this mindset has allowed us to do is to treat it with caution, right? Not get excited, not just kind of slap AI onto our products and call ourselves an AI company. It's to really test this AI, make sure it's accurate, make sure it's solving a real problem. And we've gotten great results by doing that. People have started using our AI products or our AI tests, and we're going to keep doing that. And we're going to use this technology to further our mission and get to our vision faster.
If I'm a customer, Phil, what does this mean for me tactically? What can I do now that I wasn't able to do before in its present form? And how do you envision my work changing long-term through the adoption of AI tools?
Well, if you're a current customer and you probably have a team of analysts, at the very least one, and your conversion rate, you just launched a new marketing campaign, okay? Traffic is flowing, but conversion isn't there. Today, what you do is you ask your analyst or analysts, please go figure out why. Tell me why my new product or my marketing campaign isn't converting as much as I expected it to. That takes a week. You come back with some results. Maybe you're going to run an A/B test, but in a lot of cases, you kind of say, I don't know. Hopefully it gets better. In this, what we're currently working on, what we want to achieve is that instead of you having to interact or to group a bunch of people together to get these answers in a matter of weeks, we want to provide you a platform where you can just ask that question. We have that data. We can give you those answers as soon as possible. And then not only are we able to answer your question pretty much as soon as you ask them, but then we're able to recommend what should you do about it. And so the time to action goes from weeks, maybe even months in some cases, to minutes, hours, and that has a lot of impact.
I love that. And I completely agree. And I think we're already starting to see it. And Rob, I know you like to hop on customer calls to really stay close to the customer. Do you have a customer story and anecdote as of late that kind of accentuates how our repositioning is landing?
That's a good question. I think one that comes to mind is a company called Cozy Earth. So Cozy Earth was using a pretty complicated tool stack. They had a digital experience analytics tool, so session replay, heat mapping, etc. And then they had an error monitoring tool that was pretty good at error monitoring. And then they also had Noibu in the mix as well to specialize in prioritization of front-end issues. And they came to us with a problem of, hey, our tool stack is pretty complicated. Our DXA is pretty specific. It's pretty complicated, and it's only useful for a certain type of user. And every time our engineers try to collaborate with the business teams, they struggle. And then on the other side, that technical tool was not super accessible by the business users. And now that our vision really is to become the one tool for all conversion rate collaboration, we came with them with, essentially a demo. We let them try the product, and it spoke for itself. They ended up, opting just to go with Noibu alone to solve that entire problem of growing their conversion rate and maintaining their conversion rate from a technical standpoint, largely due to the simplicity of having not necessarily all of the data, but the right data presented in a certain way that solved the entire problem for them. And they were able to simplify process, simplify their tooling, and candidly save some money in the process as well. So that was a really cool win. And we were super pumped about that one, definitely validating the approach that we're taking.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing it all over the field. A lot of people are over-tooled. Candidly, COVID, people signed up these long contracts. Maybe they're compressing digital and technical teams into one. It's an interesting perspective. And Phil, on your side, from a product perspective, how does this repositioning expand the opportunities moving forward as to what we can innovate into next? Do you have some insights into some of the problem areas that are adjacent to this that you think we want to continue expanding into?
Totally. Noibu was so focused on errors for quite a time, and kind of going into this new iteration of Noibu with this new repositioning, we're really speaking the language of the e-commerce people. Errors is a subset of the things that they care about, but it's not the whole story. And the whole story can probably be can probably be or summarized as, in e-commerce, you care about conversion rate, you care about average order value, you care about how much money you're spending on ads, you care about your general traffic. And then errors kind of fits into the category of conversion rate. Certain errors can cause your customers to leave the website, which impacts your conversion rate. But that's only one out of the 4 things that I've just said. And with this new repositioning, our product team and our product engineering team gets to focus on each one of these problems specifically. What are the problems that exist in AOV, for example? How do you increase AOV? Well, an idea could be you add recommended products. But is that data informed? Do you know that when people buy a shoe, they will also buy that specific type of pants? Or is that the best guess from our customers? And sometimes those guesses are perfect. They work because of that intrinsic experience. But in many cases, they can't predict what the shoppers want. So they need data-informed decisions. Since now the product and engineering teams and the design teams are focused on each one of those categories, they can pinpoint specific pains and build that into Noibu. And back to our AI conversation, allowing a conversation to flow between the AI system, the AI intelligence, Noibu intelligence, and the end customer, the end user. Which products should I recommend for my brand new shoes? Well, now that I've collected all of the data that's ever happened on your e-commerce site, I can actually recommend the products you should recommend. I can tell you that. And it's not a guess. It's based out of real data. And so to summarize all of that, we can finally speak the entire language of e-commerce. It's not just about errors. It's a whole complexities of things. It's a whole set of complex things together.
And Phil, one thing that I used to think about late into the night is, we're the 10th, maybe 15th session replay company, the X error monitoring company, and now we're the analytics DXA. Why do we have the right to win? How is verticalization and specialization part of that strategy, if anything? If we have customers that are using the Noibu platform today that are listening, which I'm assuming there's tens of thousands listening.
Millions.
Why do we have the right to win?
Because e-commerce is hard. E-commerce is very hard. It probably at the surface level looks easy. Quote unquote, all you have to do is increase conversion rate and increase traffic. And when you're kind of serving a horizontal market, so you're serving multiple industries, you don't get to appreciate the complexity of e-commerce. And so you solve the surface levels. I'll display your conversion rate over time and job's done. But that's not how it works. E-commerce people have to analyze the data. They have to come up with insights. Then they have to come up with a hypothesis on how to resolve that problem. Then they have to create tests. They have to speak to their leadership to get approval. And between all of these steps, there's so many problems that happen. If a company serves banking, e-commerce, restoration, how are they going to allocate the time to think about each individual one of these problems? They won't, but Noibu will, because that's our bread and butter. We only focus on e-commerce. So the fact that it could be difficult to generate a report to share with your manager, well, we really care about that. If your report gets rejected, that's our problem. It really is. But it may not be the problem of the people that serve tens of industries, because it's just a tiny problem in their whole set of problems that they want to solve, but it's our biggest problem. So that's why we have the right to win, because we only focus on e-commerce, and the smallest amount of friction in their workflows is our biggest problems. It's the problems we need to solve. And it's that we need to serve our customers for that reason.
I mean, you sold me. Sign me up for another 10 years of this. Rob, ecom, there's a lot of transition in leadership roles. A VP here becomes a VP there. There's a lot of, I'm apprehensive to make up a stat, but I feel like the average tenure is 18 months. Maybe give us a bit of insight where you've had to meet with an executive on an existing customer. Maybe they're familiar with some of the generic tools in the market, right? And in speaking with them, how did you convince them? What was the aha moment that made them realize that they need a verticalized tool like Noibu now that they're in the role that they're in?
It's a good question. I think usually it's a pattern. So this is not one example. It's a culmination of numerous conversations. And for context, I meet VPs, C-level, nearly weekly and just have conversations, talk about Noibu, talk about their world, what they're working on, etc. And the common feedback I get when I ask, why Noibu? Why do you continue to select us as a partner today, in the future, and in the far future? It comes down to really that e-commerce expertise, not only in the product, which Phil did an amazing job describing. I'm not going to reiterate that. That is referenced, but it's also our customer success team, which are e-commerce professionals. They're not technology professionals. They're e-commerce professionals. They're trained on conversion rate, AOV, traffic, marketing campaigns, etc. They speak the language of an e-commerce manager, a product owner, an e-commerce developer. They understand the platforms. They understand the integrations. And that expertise, we invest not only back into the product through their feedback and conversations with our customers, but they also act as essentially consultants and an extension of the team. And that's essentially additional resources that the CIO, CDO is getting by partnering with Noibu. It's not just about the product; it's also essentially an extension of their team. And that paired with everything that Phil mentioned in terms of us talking their language in the product is usually why they end up going with a vertical solution like Noibu, and they typically will cite us as best in class for that. So it's a good question, and I hope that we can continue kind of investing in that. And I think for the next few years, at the very least, that's exactly what we intend on doing.
And just to really pair that with some of the feedback I'm hearing in the market, and one of our customers said to me, if you look at the commerce platform market, folks that tried to build commerce in a larger engine have traditionally struggled to build it, or when they've acquired it's had a somewhat of a slow death. Now, it's not unilateral, but like it's very famous. Oracle acquired ATG. It's been shut down. SAP acquired Hybris. It's now getting sunsetted. Adobe, Magento, kind of same situation. And then if you look at the flip side, who's really owning the market? There's Shopify, there's Commerce Tools in the enterprise, and there's BigCom in the complex mid-market. And those are kind of the three big players that are left over, call it 250 million of ARR outside of Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And really, if you look at it from a pattern level, those that have focused, commerce is valuable enough to really justify vertical tooling. And folks that have tried to take a horizontal tool and cram it in have struggled. So that's something that was explained to me, which made a lot of sense. And Phil, I'm going to pass it to you as we look to wrap up. Very curious, what is most exciting to you or most scary to you about the market that we play in over the next 12 months?
Well, there's a few things. The thing that's been on my mind the most is what do the chat GPTs of the world do to shopping? Does shopping in 2035 look the same as it does today? Are people still leveraging websites to go shop? Are they still using the traditional grid? Or are they talking to something that shops for them? And I don't know. It feels to me like it would make sense that e-commerce stays on websites because people like having optionality, going to different brands, not going to a single place to get all that information. And I think that's been proven in the past as well. Like Amazon is that amalgamator of things to buy, and you can just go to Amazon and buy anything, yet we've seen more brands than ever before, even after Amazon. And so I think there will be resilience in that, in brand power, and so individual websites. But even within those websites, are you still shopping on the website, or are you interacting with the website via chat? And so I don't know. I actually don't know. And this is something companies that are playing in the e-commerce world have to start caring about and worrying about.
I'm aligned. Rob, what are your thoughts?
I would agree. I've been thinking a lot about this, and also how could Noibu potentially help within this domain as well. For example, I've spoken to some customers where they're starting to get a decent amount of traffic from the different LLMs. And there are also cases where the LLM will provide a recommendation, and the link that they provide lands on a 404, for example, right? Which results in a bounced session. So there is something within this ream of what Phil mentioned around how will LLMs change shopping, which to some degree, I think it will. I think people have opinions. I have my own, but really we need to monitor and see and be close to how that changes from a shopping standpoint. But there are real life examples of how LLMs are impacting e-commerce today, which we're investigating. We're talking to our customers, we're talking to our users to understand if there's an opportunity to help them there, to ensure that they're making the most of their traffic coming from these sources. And also, hey, maybe we're going to come up with ideas and products for them to be able to drive up their traffic and conversions from these sources, especially if that becomes a material part of the game, which we think it will. So that theme of AI is definitely echoed by me. Phil stole a little bit of my thunder there, but I want to stay true to myself in terms of like what's actually I'm thinking a lot about. How about you, Kailin?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think if I look back at commerce has been getting done a long time, right? It was initially very much offline, in person, and then there was phone as a channel and mail, and then the next evolution was like the digital catalog. And I feel like before the digital catalog, it was if you owned some sort of like phone optimization where you trained sales reps and all of that, it was probably really scary to think that that channel might diminish over time. And I think we're probably at that stage right now, right? Maybe website traffic goes down over time, but I think sales will increase. And I don't know exactly what the next iteration of this looks like, whether it's directly in an LLM or some variation of that. But I'm pretty bullish that GMV will climb over time and some sort of optimization will need to happen. And I think as long as we're ears to the ground on, as long as people have choice, there's abandonment rates. And as long as there's abandonment rates, we could drive value. And when I look at it, I'm hopefully humble enough to understand that I don't know what the next channel is, but there will be a next channel. And it might not be just in the depths of ChatGPT or Perplexity. It might be some other variation of that. But overall GMV will increase, and optionality will always be a thing that humans have. And decision-making and influence, I don't think will go away. Just like when you go into the, I don't know how old the bazaar is in Turkey, but I believe it's thousands of years old. They have optimization strategies. They literally have optimization strategies. They come, they grab you. Then on the phone, you have phone pressure, you have infomercials. And then you had the pop-up banners and these virtual CRO on the website. So like whatever that next channel is, there will be some optimization strategies that go into that. And I think we're very well positioned to be that platform and continue to evolve with the market. But candidly, I don't know what that is yet. And I'm really, really excited to find out.
100%. I wonder what a web store will look like in a AI native browser. Like I'm sure everyone saw Perplexity put a bid in to buy Chrome, which I don't know if that's fake news or not. But it'll be interesting to see if it's a radical shift or more of an iteration in terms of what a web store actually looks like. So yeah, love those points, guys.
You know, controversial, maybe not. I wonder if the portal into, like if the LLM becomes the browser and then the website, you don't have like a CMS anymore. Like the UI is just within the Perplexity or the ChatGPT, and you still have to build a website, but it's very more like back end where it's like uploading images and structures, and maybe you have URL schema, but like it's like almost like a unified UI. And I'm just coming up with this on the fly. Maybe it's a horrible thought, or maybe it's a good one. But I think the symbolism of Perplexity trying to buy Chrome is, I think they see that like ChatGPT or Perplexity app as the new browser. So I don't know.
Maybe. I don't like, there's probably a variation of that will be successful. But like, think about like the channels that are very popular today. You have the social media. You have Instagram, TikTok that are so visual and they have almost no exchange in terms of conversations. You're just kind of scrolling and you're seeing an influencer that you like, they're selling something and you click something. Like in this world, would ChatGPT open? No, it would be a website. It would be something that you still have to interact with. And so it's like, I feel like commerce, as we kind of grow our dependence or grow our relationships with AI, we're going to want to seek more relationships with actual humans. So the importance of influencers is actually going to increase. But then think about it. If our relationship with influencers are done through a screen that is visual and you're not chatting with it, what are you buying and how are you buying? So there's like weird dynamics that the market is going to have to figure out for all of that to work out.
Another, that's a really good point, and you made me think of something. Another pie in the sky idea is you'll land on a website, and that's to be determined what that is. Maybe it's still what it is today, or it's directly embedded in something like ChatGPT. And really the only change is it still looks and feels like shopping because people love hunting for things, especially if it's luxury items. But it's really powered by AI. And if Phil, for example, goes on a website, the content is dynamic to what Phil wants and it changes on the fly. And it goes above and beyond a lot of these, recommendation tools and, seeming AI recommendation engines where candidly, a lot of you listening probably don't understand if it's working or not. But this technology potentially has the power to actually do it because through memory and understanding who Phil is and his interactions within that browser that's potentially powered by an LLM, the content will be dynamically loaded and increase conversion from maybe an average of like 2% to like 10% because everything it's feeding could potentially work. Pie in the sky idea.
Kailin, I know you want to end the podcast, but I feel like this is so interesting.
Let's keep going. I'm good. This is really, really interesting. Do you have any follow-up thoughts, Phil?
Totally. Like I think Rob's onto something. It's like, think about the current shopping experience. Even if you know what you want to buy on an e-commerce website, you still have to go on the website, figure out the menu, figure out where the pants section is. And that's kind of tedious. You know what I mean? Like ideally it would just give me the exact pant I'm looking for. And imagine a website where it kind of knows me. It knows that I'm running out of pants, that I need new pants soon. And boom, it's my favorite pair of pants on my favorite brand's website. And I can just buy. Like my experience with that brand is magical and I'm going to keep coming back. And so because the website feels tailored to me, it knows me. I don't have to go through the struggle of navigating the grid. And so it's weird how we started with the conversational chat experience and now we're going back to the website experience, but it's hyper personalized because it knows me so well. But for sure there exists a hybrid world where that website also exists in this AI native browser where it's like,
the data that ChatGPT has about you, if it was to serve you products from your favorite retailer, would it show you everything on the website?
No chance.
Okay. What would it not show you for sure?
Well, it would not show me. It would show me what it knows that I want. And it probably knows that very well. So it would show me all the things that I don't want to see.
It's not going to show you women's clothes. It's not going to show you stuff that's not in your size. It's not going to show you don't live in Antarctica, so you don't need a parka or whatever it is, right? Or it's the summer. There's so much wasted time and attention because you build a website and then you try and funnel people towards the part of the website that's most interesting to them. So it then comes to, are these microsites going to get spun up through that portal, right? Or maybe you just have a universal ID. I don't know. That one's probably too pie in the sky where a website, but I agree, Rob, what you said about the website adjusting to you makes sense. And then there's additional context. Maybe you're actually shopping for your mom, you're shopping for your wife, your sister, whatever it is. And that completely changes the context. But if you're just straight up I want to shop for myself, I don't understand why you would have to go through things that are either not in your size or irrelevant to you or things that you already own. And I think solving that problem at the brand level is probably next to impossible. But solving
Right.
that centrally is something that's really interesting, actually.
Well, you make a really good point. And I've read recently, I don't know if you guys read this too, but people grew an emotional attachment to GPT 4.40. And when OpenAI shipped GPT 5, some people started complaining that their old kind of buddy, they were missing it. They were missing them because the personality of GPT 5 is completely different than the GPT 4.0. And think about what the information you share with something that you have an emotional attachment to versus a software. Like, I'm much more likely to share who I actually am as a person if I have an emotional attachment to the thing that I'm talking to. And as a result of this thing, knowing who I am, what I actually like, the recommendation that it can give me are significantly better. But I would never share that with Google. Google couldn't pick up the fact that, I don't know, I don't like cashmere, for example, because like I tell ChatGPT that my skin itches every time I wear this sweater. Like, Google can't pick up on that.
And give me tips. Yeah, give me tips on how to like not make my skin itchy with cashmere. They would know that and not recommend cashmere. That's super smart.
That's no, guys, this is an interesting thread. And candidly, I think my opinion is the biggest thing that could get disrupted is the UI layer. I think what still first principles has to happen, you need to craft products, put them somewhere with a price, sell them, capture transactions, and influence behavior of customers. And I think potentially how that's consumed, whether it's some of what we just discussed or something else, is definitely poised to change. And I think we're seeing that traffic levels of websites, or at least this is what I'm hearing in the field, right? Everyone's, oh, my chat GPT traffic is increasing, my Google traffic's decreasing. I think that is something that we haven't experienced. Like, Google's had a quasi monopoly on this for at least 15, probably closer to 20 years. And I think when traffic sources start to change, the underlying technology underneath it is going to have to change as well, if that makes sense. Unless you're going from like a Google to a Bing, but like the era of blue links is kind of starting to die. And if that's, do you know what I mean? So like,
yeah.
Right now, blue links are being embedded into a different interface, but I don't know if that's the best user experience. If you think about Instagram and Twitter, they deprioritize external links. And that's for a reason, because when you kick someone out of your app,
right,
your attention drops, right? So I don't, like, maybe right now it's getting blue linked, but I don't see how LLMs continue to blue link, right? But I don't know. I'm not the expert. This has been a phenomenal conversation, and we should definitely all have these types of conversations more often. I think as we look to wrap up, I'll ask one last question to each of you. What excites you most about the next 100 episodes of what we're filming? So I'm curious, as we do the 200th episode in hopefully a year to 2 years time, probably, what most excites you looking back on those next 100?
I'm excited to track the progress of how leading merchants are using AI within their workflows, but also within their commerce experiences, off the vein of what we just talked about. I know it might seem like I'm copying, but I'm actually not. I think it takes a long time to do 200 episodes, and a lot will change by the time we get to episode 200. And some of what we talked about 30 seconds ago might actually be answered by episode 200. So that's what I'm excited about.
Two things, really. The first one is selfishly, I'd love to understand how a single platform that speaks the language of e-commerce can obviously serves our customers, but can help existing customers or existing e-commerce owners. And I'm wondering how that sticks. And I'm curious to hear more experiences on the podcast of them using this new version of Noibu. So that's a little bit of a selfish answer. And then the second thing I'm actually excited to learn and to discuss and to listen, because you're going to be leading all of them, Kailin, is brand loyalty. With the increase of optionality, that where the consumer is brand agnostic, can't really see the brand, how are the brands going to evolve to help with brand loyalty? What are the tactics that the brands are going to start to use to get their customers to come back to only their content, to only their merchandise? Because if I am interacting with ChatGPT and ChatGPT is recommending me products from different brands, what makes me want to go to a specific brand? And so I'm very curious what these brands will do to earn the loyalty of the consumers.
By the way, just this is a rogue thought. Kailin's going to kill me, but I wonder if e-commerce websites become retention machines, where it's like about retaining LTV, and that's the primary goal. Like where it's like you generate new business from this new browser or whatever it's going to be, but once you got that customer, you want to send them back not to that system that is agnostic to the brand, but to your own unique proprietary experience. That's interesting, Phil. Good point. How about you, Kailin?
This one might be controversial, but I think to piggyback on the mission of Shopify, Klaviyo, BigCommerce, I'm really excited. I think some of these insights, due to software cost and human capital constraints, have been inaccessible to the broader market. And just to really paint that simply, my brother runs an e-com shop, hopefully gets to $500,000 of GMV this year. For him to hire an analyst, buy a session replay software, buy a performance monitoring software, and like have someone go in, and then from there open up insights with an agency or figure out how to make those changes himself. I think what we see with technology is as it gets better, it's better, cheaper, faster. It starts to enable creators and people that are very passionate about their products to not only put them on the internet and sell them, but I think the next path of that is to actually influence the demand and drive conversion, very similar to the first person at the Turkish bazaar that figured out that if you actually step out of your booth and go to the person, you can get them to convert. And I think that what Shopify and these platforms did so elegantly well is they demystified generation of a store. And I don't think anyone's demystified the optimization of a store yet. And I think we have such a big opportunity to demystify the optimization of a store. Sometimes I look at these sales reports and I'm like, okay, sales are up 200% this month, but then they grow 20% this month. Like, why? Like why is the pacing different? And net, when you're growing, it's all good. But I don't know how to answer those questions, candidly. And I don't even know that if all the best of breed tools were bought overnight and layered in, I think you'd be switching between all the tools, right? And I think that we're best positioned to solve it today. I think we have I think we're furthest ahead. But to answer your question, I'm most interested in how we can demystify conversion rate optimization through grouping on all these different products and making that broadly available so that not only the people that have the most resources, but everyone else can profit from it as well. Thank you guys so much for your time, and really appreciate you folks hopping on. And for all the listeners, we are always open to feedback. Please find us all on LinkedIn and send us a note. Thank you so much.
The Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.